All right, so now let's do keyword research using an SEO tool. This is going to be like 99 times easier, and it's going to allow us to pull a lot of data very quickly while also analyzing the competition's websites to understand exactly why Google is ranking them. Because we talked about this earlier, if you remember, Google is looking at the entire website as a topical authority. So they're looking for all the blogs, all the pieces of content, all the collection pages or blog pages that are ultimately helping tie together to help them rank. So let's dive right in. So we're gonna use Ahrefs, which is our favorite tool. It's pronounced Ahrefs, Ahrefs. Really, honestly, nobody knows. Pretty sure, but ultimately we love it because it just really showcases the data, and it is just the best tool out there. Mark my words, it's way better than SEMrush. So, anyways, let me just show you here. So we put in running shoes right here. Boom, in the Keyword Explorer. And we're going to see here it's super hard difficulty. It takes a lot of referring domains to rank, but that's up for determination, of course. And then the search volume is massive, which checks out. So in order to rank for this category, we're of course going to have a high domain rating, or even at least to get on probably page 2, we're going to have a lot of content. So I'm going to immediately show you guys how we can build a content plan around helping rank for running shoes over time, because we have to let this content kind of age. But right here, boom, all these questions. How long do they last? Let's actually look at these. So let's expand these. Let's also expand the different terms match. And let's also, yep, I think that's pretty good. And then we'll actually look at the competitive field here as well. So let's start here with the questions though. Questions. This gives us a keyword difficulty, which basically is an estimation of how hard it is to rank in the top 10 based on referring domains. And of course, this is like a logarithmic scale of 0 to 100. So that's what Ahrefs says. But in my opinion, it basically is just a good way to see, is it easy? If it's like below 20, then it's probably any newer website could also probably grab that keyword ranking without an issue. If it's above 20 or like, in the more harder levels, like 60 or 70, you have to have either a little bit of luck or to be a little bit blessed by Google, but you can get there. We've actually ranked some insane keywords like CBD gummies, which has a 98 keyword difficulty on a 15 domain rating site. So it can definitely be done, but you have to have these ridiculously deep tranches of content on your website. So exactly what we're talking about. So for the content plan, these are all extremely great different types of articles here. When to replace them, how often to replace them, how do they fit, how do I know they fit, how long do they last? What we also have here along with difficulty is search volume. So this is basically like the demand. So if we're comparing SEO to like economics, it's like supply and demand. Supply is keyword difficulty, or ultimately how many suppliers are there in the market. If there's a lot of them, it's going to be very hard to rank for them. If there are very few of them, it will be very easy. And it's important to note that, yes, I'm sure a lot of brands talk about how long running shoes last, but they do it indirectly, meaning they're not creating a page specifically about this one topic, which is what we're going to be doing, which is why we're going to be able to win all this topical authority and all these keywords and different, ultimately, traffic in pursuit of ranking for the main keyword running shoes. So even just by ranking for these, this traffic is still very qualified, because if you're selling running shoes, then it's a no-brainer. So important to note there. Whereas demand comes from search volume, the amount of searches per month. This is searches, not clicks, important to note. But there's still, for some searches, there are more clicks than average if people can't seem to find the information. Or sometimes there's less than average if they're only clicking on one thing or they're not clicking on anything at all because of Google's AI overviews, which is rare from what we've seen, but just throwing that out there. So, okay, so now we at least have these 5 pieces of content here at least that we could ultimately start running with, pun intended. So how we wash them as well, how do you clean them? Again, there's so many here. This alone could be a content plan, but we have to hit it from all angles. So let's move forward. Let's now look at the matching terms. This is going to be like different other pages and different other concepts, and this is going to be very similar to what we saw without using the SEO tool. This is like brands. This is like the main pages that are ranking, best running shoes, right? That was like that Runner's World one. These are all the brands that we saw on Cloud, Asics, best running shoes, trail running shoes like we talked about. This has way more search volume and low difficulty than the other ones do. Like, for example, road running shoes and all the other different ones for men, for women. But this is where we want to play. As a newer brand, as a big brand, it doesn't matter. No matter what your domain rating is, you want to really rank for these lower difficulty, which are like below 25, below 2025, but high volume. We want that. That is killer. You can win on long tail all day long. We work with some massive clients, and some of them have like 14,000 SKUs because they sell like office supplies. But where we win for them is by really optimizing for all these ridiculously long tail keywords, which could be 3 to 5 words in just a single keyword. So like, for example, trail running shoes, 3 words, but technically only 1 keyword. So like we talked about earlier. But important to note that you can live and die by these long tail keywords, and you can get so much traffic in pursuit of the big keywords like running shoes themselves. So you're really kind of accomplishing a lot of things at one time by building these content plans properly. Let's keep going. There's much more to cover. Okay, so we're going to actually check in on this page itself. So this women's running shoes page. So let's expand that and let's take a look at that really quick. And so again, like we talked about though, you probably don't actually need to look at these because they're product pages, but it could still be helpful. So let's just take a look. So of course, this is for women's running shoes, even though they're ranking within running shoes itself. And if we scroll down here to the very bottom, because I want to look at the whole page, boom, look at that. They have all these other insane pages covering colors of shoes, covering different types, running, walking, trail running, all these different things that could be relevant to the category. That's massive, and that's kind of insane how they're doing that. Of course, this is Adidas, so it checks out. But this gives you a little bit of visibility into topical authority and why they rank so well. It's because they have all these different pages built up to help do this. And that's exactly what we need to do, but not as aggressively. And we're not going to do all this in 1 month, for example. We're going to do here and there little different pieces on the content plan that's going to help us get there. So maybe you just do women's running shoes. But look at these interesting questions they have at the bottom. This as well, actually, this is probably an H2. Let's take a look at that. And yep, it is an H2, confirmed. So it means that Google is definitely parsing it. They're definitely seeing it. So that's exactly why they're calling it out. Let's look at down here at the frequently asked questions. Is that also an H2? Also an H2. What about these questions here? Are these questions below an H3? We will see. Hard to tell, hard to tell. Okay, it's not. But either way, Google still reads this. So it's kind of interesting to show. But how did Google figure out these questions? Can women wear men's running shoes? What are the best women's running shoes for flat feet and for high arches? Let's see if we can deconstruct that. So let's look at women's running shoes and see if I can show you example exactly. Look at this here, boom. Let's look at the most asked questions and see if those questions are familiar. Let's see, best brand, best shoes. I need the most asked questions. Did I pass it? Did I pass it? Let me go to the next page. It might be on here. But the goal is we should be able to actually find those exact questions somewhere on the search results, whether they're here or whether they are anywhere else. Let's see if we can find them here. So really quick, let's go back to the first page and let's change our search result just a little bit. Women's running shoes fit. Let's try that. Boom. How should they fit? How do I choose them? Should they be loose? I'm going to say, let's go back to this page here. Let's look at this again. And so they're basically deriving these questions. So I'm going to say for. There we go. Women's running shoes for. Women's running shoes for flat feet, for wide feet, for high arches. Boom, right there. You can see it right there in the results. So that's exactly where they're basically pulling that. They're basically putting this in here and seeing what actually comes up, because these are also the most asked questions in order, the most search queries. So people are looking for track over, they're looking for flat feet. They're looking for plantar fasciitis over looking for wide feet. So important to note, but these are basically like another way to also give an idea of the search demand for these different queries. So super interesting to see there. So again, that's another angle that we can ultimately use. These could all be their own separate articles if we're trying to rank for women's running shoes. But in general, we know that if we're trying to rank for running shoes, we should probably have a page on women's running shoes and kind of compile all this different information. There's more we can do though. So we can actually look at these results again kind of here, and we can also see, what makes these so great. So let's look at Runner's World. And again, I'm going to have a whole course, part of this section on actually Ahrefs and navigating it. But we're going to just quickly blow through this. And I'm just going to show you how we can use their website to actually understand exactly what pages are the most valuable to help rank for running shoes. Because again, this is Runner's World. So it's kind of a no-brainer. So let's go to the top pages, compare pages, organic keywords. And I'm going to see, it looks like they've got gear, they've got training. Let's actually look one other place first before we go to top pages, just to get an understanding of their site structure. I want to look at their structure and see where are they putting their blogs, where are they putting their content-heavy pages. Everyone calls it something differently. It's probably under training. Also, health and injuries. That would be another great thing to cover as well. And then within that, boom, look at that. half marathon training for beginners. Banger. So let's take a look at that. So we know that training, and then let's see, the other one was health injuries. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to filter right here for training. So any URL that contains training any rule that contains health injuries. And this is going to show us exactly what we need to see. This is going to show us all the content heavy pages and their organic traffic assigned to it, which means we're going to know exactly which pages we should add to our content plan in order to make sure that we too can rank for running shoes or get much closer. So right here, boom, you can see that not all pages are created equally here. So let's look at this. So for health injuries, best under desk treadmill, and 6-week beginner 5K schedule, half marathon training for beginners. This best under desk treadmill, I guarantee you that's an affiliate article. They're probably making money off those clicks, so we're going to exclude that one. So 6-week beginner 5K schedule, massive. Couch to 5K is the big keyword, so then we should probably try to rank for Couch to 5K, which I believe is also an app, but I think it's also a term, just ultimately to get running faster and better and get off the couch. So you should make a whole page for that and put that there. How to train for a half marathon, that's the next best one. How to start running in general, strength training for runners, tempo run, a fartlek run, all these different types of like average running speed, running cadence. All of these are pages we should be creating for your content plan. If you looked at this alone, that's your first content plan right there. You can look at that too, just almost separately and nail it. Then of course, you can then layer that in with what we found here, all of these questions, and then ultimately layer it in with couple of these different brand analysis, and you got it. You're pretty much going to be there, especially if you call it the different types of running shoes. So that is a perfectly made content plan, a structure of one. We're going to make one together here in a little bit, but that's kind of the structure of one, and that is just, there you go. That's how you do it with Ahrefs. And we're going to go into this a little bit deeper with our Ahrefs course series here coming up as well, but this just should give you a pretty good idea that you can do it with an SEO tool. You can do it without an SEO tool. But you can see the amount of data and understanding we can achieve by using an SEO tool versus not having one. You have to have a lot of assumptions, and you have to kind of know what you're looking for if you're not using one. But if you're using one, it just kind of falls out right in front of you, and then you have a whole content plan ready to go to start scaling your SEO content, to start bringing in the right traffic, basically helping your ideal customers find your product and find the solution to their problems that they just do not know exist because they cannot find you on Google. So cool. Hope this was helpful, and we got a great one coming up next.